The Korean War is often remembered for its frozen battles and political stalemate, but one of its most enduring consequences is rarely discussed. It forced militaries to confront an uncomfortable truth. Most lives were not saved by surgeons or hospitals, but by ordinary soldiers making imperfect decisions under pressure, long before professional medical care was available. The war exposed a gap between clinical medicine and battlefield reality, a gap that doctrine had underestimated and that soldiers paid for in blood. If you value serious historical analysis that examines these uncomfortable spaces between theory and reality, subscribe to Echoes of Valor. This channel exists to explore what formal histories often overlook. Soldiers learned that doing something imperfectly was often better than waiting to do it correctly. This gap is, really why many battlefield lessons never appeared in medical textbooks. They were situational, improvised, and sometimes, they contradicted peacetime medical norms. Yet they worked often enough to become embedded in soldier culture. The most important first aid skill was not technical, it was judgment. One of the hardest lessons from Korea was triage under scarcity. Soldiers and medics had to decide who could be saved with limited resources and who, unfortunately, could not. Judgment also applied to self-care. Soldiers learned when to stop moving, when to seek shelter, and when, really, to conserve energy. In extreme cold, improper decisions could turn minor injuries into fatal ones. This kind of judgment honestly cannot be reduced to checklists. Exposure and shock killed as effectively as enemy fire. Cold was not merely an environmental hazard in Korea, it was a medical one. Casualties left exposed to wind and snow deteriorated rapidly, even without severe wounds. Hypothermia compounded blood loss and reduced survival chances dramatically. Soldiers learned to prioritize insulation and shelter alongside wound care. A blanket, a coat, or, even shared body heat often mattered as much as bandages. This lesson influenced later doctrine by expanding the definition of first aid beyond wound treatment to include environmental management. Survival depended on stabilizing the whole person, not just the injury. Improvisation filled the gaps that standard kits could not. Standard issue medical kits were limited and, honestly, often depleted quickly. Soldiers supplemented them with whatever materials were available: clothing, webbing, rifle slings, and scavenged supplies. Improvisation was not reckless. It was guided by observation and repetition. Soldiers learned what held, what failed, and what, frankly, made conditions worse. Over time, informal best practices emerged, passed along through units rather than manuals. These practices rarely received official endorsement, but they shaped outcomes. They demonstrated that adaptability was itself a form of medical capability. The Korean War quietly reshaped modern combat medicine. Many principles now taken for granted, early hemorrhage control, rapid casualty movement, and decentralized care, trace their lineage to Korea. The war highlighted the limits of centralized medical expertise and the necessity of empowering non-medical personnel. Later conflicts formalized these lessons through combat lifesaver programs and improved first aid training, but the foundation was laid by soldiers who learned through necessity rather than instruction. What preppers often miss is that first aid is about systems, not supplies. Modern preparedness culture frequently focuses on equipment, kits, tools, and, manuals. Korea teaches a different lesson. Supplies matter, but systems matter more. Communication, decision-making, and coordination determine whether first aid succeeds. The battlefield first aid no doctor will teach is not a secret technique. It is a mindset shaped by scarcity, urgency, and consequence. It prioritizes stabilization over perfection and judgment over protocol. The Korean War reminds us that survival often depends on what happens before experts arrive. Remembering these stories matters because they honor the quiet competence of those who carried knowledge forward without recognition. If you value in-depth historical analysis that respects complexity and avoids easy answers, subscribe to Echoes of Valor and share this video with others who want to understand the past beyond surface narratives.